Hello everyone. It's been a while since I've made a video, but I wanted to talk about something that I feel is really in the field at the moment. It's something that I feel like a lot of people are struggling with at the moment or talking about, trying to understand, and that's the topic of boundaries. I've talked about boundaries a lot in some of my other videos, but I wanted to sort of explain it in a different way. And I think boundaries can be really challenging to maintain, uphold, to understand what they are because they don't exist physically. And if we weren't modeled with them as a child, if we didn't have parents that modeled boundaries, or they didn't have strong boundaries themselves, or we didn't have boundaries, we didn't have rules, all that sort of stuff, it can be really hard as an adult to understand what our boundaries are and what they mean to, or what upholding them means. And then if we have these really weak boundaries and we're not pushing back on things, and people can just take advantage of us, and then we become resentful. So the important thing is to know what your boundaries are, and then how do we uphold them. So I like to think of boundaries as something that is safeguarding us. So we have a lock on our door, we have a code for our phone, we have a code for our bank account, we have a lock for our car. All of these things are important to us. And they're important, and that means they need to be protected. They need to be safeguarded. And it's the same with our emotions, with our energy, with our time. These all need to be protected. They're important to us, and they need to be safeguarded. So how do we do that? We do that by having boundaries. And how do we uphold those? So the first step is really to understand what your boundaries are. And so asking yourself, how much time am I going to give this relationship? How much energy can I invest in this person? What's my boundaries around my workload? What's my boundaries around my self-care, around my wellness, around my exercise, around my eating, my nutrition, all of those things? What's my boundaries around how I interact with my family? Which is a big one. A lot of people let their boundaries slide when it comes to family, and consequently they really suffer. They suffer emotionally, they suffer mentally, they suffer spiritually. It's the same thing in relationships. If you're not upholding the boundaries that you have within your relationships, you're going to suffer. You will suffer mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And what happens is you end up resenting the other people in your life. So number one is really getting clear on, okay, so my boundary is I get up early, or I go to bed early, or my boundary is I go to do a family thing once a month, or whatever it is. That's something that you have to work out. Or I don't answer emails after 5 o'clock, or I don't answer emails before 9 a.m. because it's really important that I get a workout in, or that I do my meditation. All of these things are really important because they help you be the best version of yourself. They help you have happier relationships, because when you're safeguarding those things that are important to you, your energy, your time, your emotions, you are becoming, or you are able to be the best version of yourself. So number one, really getting clear on what those boundaries are. And then number two, really sticking to them, and deciding that I'm not going to break this. I'm not going to break this for anyone. And that might sound, really restrictive, and that's up to you, because that will be up to you to decide what you're willing to break and what you're not, or whether you set a boundary around a particular thing in the first place. So for me, I have a boundary around when I travel or when I go away. I don't like to share a bed unless it's with my partner. I don't like to share a bed with my mom, with my sister, with my friends. It's just something, or, friends. It's just something that I know. I don't sleep well with other people, really don't sleep well with other people in the room, unless it's my partner. But, I don't sleep well if I have to share a bed with my mum when I visit my sister, or with my sister when I go away, and I know that that's because I don't sleep well. And if I don't sleep well, I'm really cranky, and I am just cranky, and I'm snap at people, and it's just not who I want to be. So I have a strong boundary that I like to have my own bed, and maybe that will put out whoever I'm staying with, but that's the way, that's something that I need to do for me. You know, another thing is I don't start work before sort of 9 a.m. because I love to exercise in the morning, or I need to get out and do something in the morning. And that's really important to me for my own mental health, for my own well-being. And there is lots of different, you know, boundaries that, you know, they're so personal. And it's really important for you to understand clearly about what your boundaries are. You know, I don't do housework on these days, or I only do housework on these days, or I don't do the washing, or I don't, don't order the groceries, or I don't do the grocery shopping. Whatever it is, there are, you know, multiple, we live rich and dynamic lives. So it's up to you to decide what that is. And then, you know, and at first it might feel uncomfortable with the person that you're in a relationship with, or your family or your friends, to uphold that boundary or to communicate that boundary. But over time, they'll get used to it and they'll adapt, and then it will just become part of how they interact with you. And, you know, boundaries are really about what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. And it's really, and that's really important for you, for your mental well-being, and for being the best version of you. So I hope you found this video useful. And if you have any questions around boundaries, or if you're struggling with boundaries, I'd love to chat to you, and hope you will have a beautiful day.